Hello guys, and today I'm going to tell you about how Nigel Farage is helping to try and lose other people's money. Now you think, what am I talking about? Well, for those of you who don't know, Nigel Farage was basically the main spokesman for Brexit, okay? He was the leader of UKIP and then later the Brexit Party, and has spent many years campaigning for the UK to leave the European Union, which officially we did earlier this year. Okay, but that's not what this video is about. I was just looking at normal music videos out of boredom, whatever, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a typical YouTube advert came up. Now, I managed to track down the same advert on YouTube itself, but originally I was not looking for this. I did not watch it as a video. I was watching just a music video of some sort, and suddenly, out of nowhere, this financial advert from Nigel Farage popped up. Blimey, I thought, what's going on? So let's listen to some of it.
Politics. I've just left my money bundled up, being managed by other people, and frankly, I look at the returns and I feel I've been very badly let down, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way. I'd also say to younger viewers, what you've just seen this year with coronavirus shows you that a rainy day can happen. Oh, and by the way, if you think in 30 years' time you're going to get a good state pension.
It's very important you remember what he just said, right?
30 years' time, you're going to get a good state pension. I suggest you're in for a... Oh, and by the way, if you think in 30 years... can happen. Oh,
this was the one.
With coronavirus shows you that a rainy day can happen.
So it's saying, warning, with a rainy day can happen. Bear that in mind later, okay?
Oh, and by the way, if you think in 30 years' time you're going to get a good state pension, I suggest you're in for a shock. So having financial independence, controlling our own future and destiny in terms of our own financial resources, I think is more important today than it's ever been. I'm going to give this my best shot. So if you want to stay with me, if you want to continue, please click the link or go to fortuneandfreedom.com.
Now, out of curiosity, I decided to do just that. So, this is what I originally saw. Yes, that's it. Now, when you click on their link from the advert, you get this. It's time to take back control of your money. Sign up. Well, I did just that, but more on that in a moment. You'll get the truth. You'll get the truth about your money. Smart ideas how to invest from real experts who I trust. Now, right at the bottom, it's got some blurb about giving them your email. It says, content in this report is general only and should not be relied upon. By entering, you agree to receive an email, blah 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 blah. By signing up to our free email, you consent to receive these promotions. Right, there you go. It doesn't warn you anywhere here, from what I can see easily, about losing money. So I'm just going to do a check on this. I'm going to do a control. Oh yes, and suddenly there's a pop-up asking you to type in your email address. But anyway, that is what you get. Now I'm going to do a search, okay, for the word lose. You can't see this, but I'm looking for the word. And nowhere on this page does it mention lose. I'll do hello losing. Nope, not mentioned at all. Right, so what happens next? Well, you put in your email address, and the next thing you know, you actually get an email. And apparently I'll get a proper one tomorrow, but this is the standard introductory one, which doesn't really tell me practically anything much, apart from what I'd already read on that page, but it does give you a couple of secret links. So let's check those out. Now, this is what happens after you join, okay? You get some sort of, again, you get to see, I think, the same thing, and then suddenly it says, glad to have you on board. As you read this, we're sending you an email, which I've just shown you. It'll reveal everything you need to know to get the most out of in the next stage. Well, all it did was state the blatantly obvious, to be brutally honest. Like, we're going to send you an email every day and spam you, and you'll get new ideas about how you can improve your financial life in clean, clear English, blah, 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 blah. And so it says the right place to start on the Fortune Freedom website, which is clicked on that link, and I'm showing you that now. Now, what happens if you scroll? Again, it doesn't mention anything at this point. Then I decided to dive in deeper. And this is where you get the real information. Right? And now, right, so it gives you lots and lots of supposed advice, stuff about should you invest in Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin anonymous? COVID-19. I mean, this looks like the sort of stuff you could get off the internet for free. Anywhere, just by doing searches. Right? The Easter Bunny is a better bet. What has any of this... I mean, these don't look like really astonishing stuff. It doesn't look like anything that looks like it might be that immediately useful. It just seems like a lot of blurb, to be honest. Right? And when you get an email every day, I'm pretty sure they do, is tell you about the latest, you know, article they put on here. I mean, on the one hand, you've got somebody... I read the early one, and someone says they didn't think Bitcoin was much good, and then somebody else seems to be probably promoting it. Now, I haven't had time to read all this, but is Bitcoin comparable to gold? Bitcoin versus gold. I mean, I'm sorry, but what the hell are they talking about? Ordinary people aren't interested in this kind of crap. Ordinary, normal members of the public cannot afford to buy tons of gold, can they? And if they can, well, maybe they wouldn't bother with this Nigel Farage stuff. They'd already have a proper financial advisor or something. But anyway, let's get back to this. Now, this is where it gets a bit interesting. Now, when you get onto this page, which is all the advice, suddenly, at the very, very bottom, out of nowhere, they changed what you see at the bottom of the page. Hoping before it didn't mention anything about losing money. But now let's look at what it really says. From time to time we may tell you about regulated products issued by South Bank Investment Research Limited. With these products your capital is at risk. You can lose some or all, yes, all of your investment. So never risk more than you can afford to lose. In other words, Nigel Farage is trying to help you to lose all of your money. Now you're admitting here, on the one hand, he's saying, oh, don't trust these fraudsters, you know, look after your money properly. And then at the bottom it's basically saying, trust us, honest gov, we're going to offer you some products, honest gov, and by the way, you may lose every penny you have if you invest with us. Now, we also give you access to another video. We cover everything for the benefit of holding gold. I mean, how many people in the real world that are worrying about their own personal savings are going to go out and rush out and buy tons of gold bars? I mean, ordinary members of the public do not rush out and buy gold bars, and if they do have gold, it will be jewellery. Why the euro looks doomed? Well, Nigel Farage for years and years has been talking about how he hates Europe, he hates the I take that back, I fully apologise. How he hates the European Union. Nigel has praised Europe, but criticised everything to do with the European Union. So he hates the euro, he hates the European Parliament, he hates, you know, the European Council, he hates anything to do with the politics or the European currency, the European flag, the European anthem. But to be fair, I missaid that it admittedly likes Europe and European products. And apparently European women as well, but that's another matter, right? Now, I mean non-British European women, by the way, in case you're wondering. But that's another matter. Why the potential for so there you go. And it's probably some waffle here. And again, even this it says your capital is at risk. So there you go, guys. Nigel Farage, the Brexit people's champion, now trying to help people to lose all their money. With some articles on here which, frankly, don't seem that useful to ordinary members of the public. Maybe rich people, but he wasn't trying to aim this at rich people. It was not aiming this at the elite, you know. And to me, they say it's in plain, simple talking, but a lot of this just seems like a lot of waffle. You know, like the men talking about the Easter Bunny, but this article was in November. Right, what's that got to do with... I mean, I asked him whether I'd get a new Prime Minister for Christmas. What the hell has this got to do with financial advice? I have absolutely no idea. So let's look at the free reports. I haven't had time to look at this yet, but well, the point is I've already subscribed, so why is it asking me this? This is how to take back control of your finance in 4 simple steps. So, but I already did put in my goddamn email address. So why are they not just giving me the gumph? Maybe it's because I've accidentally stumbled back onto the free area. But, you know, a lot of this looks like... So there you go. This is what you get if you sign... Okay. If you sign up to Nigel Farage's How to Take Back Control of Your Money. I'll be honest, I'm still none the wiser. As an ordinary member of the public who's not, you know, especially into stocks and shares and is not, you know, I'm still none the wiser. A lot of this just seems like a lot of waffle that doesn't really tell me anything. I've tried to look quickly. Some of this seems to be telling you what governments do and how governments do it. But what's this got to do with taking control of your own money? I have absolutely no idea. Which leaves us with opportunities in the stock markets. What a surprise! In other words, they talked about buying property, but this company has nothing to do with property, so they just tell you don't bother or something. Then they're saying, which leaves us with opportunities in the stock markets, which, surprise, surprise, is what Nigel Farage had something to do with, I think, in the past, and what they're offering. What a surprise! My natural preference is to own high-quality, cheap stocks. What a shock! Who would have thought it? What amazing advice! So yes, and as well as that, they recommend you buy gold. Now, this may be exceptional advice. I'm not a financial expert. I cannot judge it. But to be honest, this doesn't look like the sort of astonishing stuff that an ordinary member of the public will find that useful. Go out and buy some gold. Given that Nigel sort of, you know, championed himself as a man of the people drinking in the pub. So there you go, guys. Now that Nigel Farage is not really a political heavyweight anymore, and he lost his job at LBC as a radio talk show host, he's now trying to sell you gold and stocks and shares, but doing it in a rather devious way without being totally upfront about what exactly he's trying to get you into. Okay, and admitting openly that he will help you to lose all your money. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Right, guys, now yesterday, on day 1, I told you how I subscribed to a news letter, from a daily newsletter from Nigel Farage, supposedly, right? And let's listen to what he said again in the advert.
Freedom. And yep, every day at 9 o'clock in the morning, you will get a communication from me giving you some insight, I believe, into what's going on in the financial and the political world. I'm very committed to this. I've made the same mistake as many of you. I've been busy.
It then goes on to blurb about it. Right, well, today I actually got one of these amazing emails. It says, Fortune and Freedom with Nigel Farage. Wow. So what's below it? Well, you'll notice it's something by somebody called Nikolai Hubble. He then goes on to talk about COVID-19 and lockdowns. What this has got to do with money, I've no idea, but anyway. But let's scroll all the way down this, shall we? Yes, it talks about lots of things, but fairly basic. But wait a minute. All this was provided by Nikolai, not Nigel Farage. Now you might think, well, he promised an email at 9 o'clock. Well, here, you'll notice it says 0904. So this is the 9 o'clock email that Nigel Farage promised he would send to people every day, but he hasn't. The email is actually from Nikolai Hubble. Who this guy is, I have no idea. Or apparently he's something to do with this. It claims he's the editor of it. But Nigel promised me that I would get an email from him that Nigel himself had personally written. You know, not one of his cronies that no member of the public has ever heard of, probably, right? Well, only if you join this, probably, right? So what's the advice he gives? Well, they talk about the worries of holding money in the bank. They say, what happens if you can't get money out of the bank? And they then talk about you know, drawing cash out. It makes some sense, I suppose, having some spare cash. But then it starts, not surprisingly, suddenly talking about stocks again. For example, having your stock brokerage account, you know. Think about how you can avoid being exposed to a single company. Investing your money with a fund. Which, by the way, yesterday warned you that if you did, you could lose absolutely everything if you did. Okay, so maybe I've misunderstood that. It says, so who do you rely on to get your hands on your money? Well, there's probably an implication here of trust us, honest, we're more trustworthy, honest. I mean, it may be some reasonable advice. It's just saying have your money in lots of different places, so if one company lets you down, you've got other options. It makes some sense. But it doesn't really tell you anything the public probably don't already know. They also talk about cash being safe, but cash isn't actually as safe as you think. For example, in India, it was either India or Pakistan, I forget now, but I believe it was India. They thought there was a lot of corruption. So, to get rid of it, they suddenly made, so they're going to change all the banknotes, and anybody who still had the old banknotes would be absolutely worthless, unless you sold them as souvenirs or something. They could not be spent in shops or spent officially. And they said that only so much amount of cash could be exchanged for new cash. Okay, for new notes. Meaning, if you had too much cash, you would just have to lose the money. They did that as a way of punishing what they viewed as people who were working in the black market, on the grounds that no law-abiding person in their view would have far too much cash. So, how did they solve? So what happened? Well, as I said, it meant that lots of people who'd stored lots of cash suddenly found that cash was absolutely worthless. They were only legally allowed to change a certain amount of it. The rest of it they just had to accept were just going to be, they could probably sell in the future as souvenirs or online to people who just like to collect banknotes. So even cash isn't 100% safe, but they're claiming that it is. In fairness, in other countries like Britain, they claim that they will always change them. But you never know if they ever change the law one day. But the point was, people were told they would get a message from Nigel Farage himself, and clearly this isn't from him, it's from somebody else. Now in fairness, he might be on holiday, he might be ill, I have absolutely no idea, but I get the feeling that Nigel Farage is just fronting this, they're just using his name in the adverts, they probably paid him off, but he probably has very little to do with what is really going on here. And he is just providing a face to an advert, which is fine, but he should be honest about it. If the emails each day are not going to come directly from him, or obviously written by him at the very least, then they should be honest about that in the advert. They should not send the advert to imply that he is going to personally give you his advice every day, but based on things that he's written, and then suddenly find out they're written by somebody else. Anyway, that's what happened on day 2. Okay? And although they're trying very hard to hide it, the inference says you should have lots of your money in lots of different places, including in probably, although they've not stated this time, but probably, you know, including in stocks and shares that they may be able to provide for you, hint, hint. But they've not quite exactly said that yet. But they do mention stocks and shares in various places, just to get the words into your mind, you know. The implication is banks aren't safe, so you might as well take a risk. They mentioned specifically Northern Rock, which was a bank which went bust, and was taken over eventually by Virgin, owned by Richard Branson, and things like that. It says, when they buy shares, they don't. Let's give their bank failing. So there you go. That's what you really get if you subscribe to Nigel Farage's Fortune Freedom. Emails probably written by people other than Nigel himself, because he's probably too lazy to write them. He's put his face to it, he's probably done the adverts, and now he's probably in hiding, counting all the money that he's made from whatever fee he was given for it. I'm guessing, but I suspect I'm right. Anyway, I'm sorry for boring you guys to death. Thanks for, as people want to know about scams, this is a potential scam because people think it's going to be, they're going to receive emails from Nigel and they're going to receive emails from other people instead. Thanks for watching. Bye.